Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are doing our top 5 worst games of 2022. This is a running list that we have done for multiple years now, because as there are many great games that are released throughout the year, there are also some really bad ones, and I think it is ethical as a reviewer, ultimately, and run-througher, to not only talk about the good games, but to talk about the bad ones, because it's either, I don't know. I just think that if you're going to help people decide on to get something, if they align with your viewpoint, then they'll get the games that you like, and then they'll get the game, or they'll avoid the games that you don't. So, with that being said, it's not going to stop people from getting upset, and that is okay, because at the end of the day, I don't care. Like, it's like, oh no, you like the game I hated? Well, I'll move on.
Yeah,
But in that meantime, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think in my 5 games, I don't know if there's really a big fan base for any of them. I don't hear much good stuff about any of them.
That's actually probably a good point. Yeah. This is, if we were talking about the year as a whole, I think I could say that 2022 was such a phenomenal year because the worst games, I don't think are really that controversial.
Right.
Like last year with like Onk. It's
Yeah.
like that's a massive title. None of these are like massive titles that came out.
Yeah, same.
All of them Kickstarter.
Mine are one, maybe just 2 Kickstarters. One of them was a pre-order. I don't think it was a Kickstarter.
Okay.
2 of them were Kickstarters, I think.
Gotcha. Okay, well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with my number 5. And this one was one that I actually kind of came across at Gen Con, just kind of walking by. It was one of those last days. You're just kind of like just scouring to see if there's anything else. And I gotta say, the dude giving the demo, I mean, he must have been hired as a hype man, because like he really talked it up. And like at first glance, this game is like, oh man, that's like right up my alley. It's like a puzzly kind of game. Like there's so much going on. The production is insane for it, for what it is. And I'm like, yeah, this will be right up my alley. And I played it. I played it there, played it multiple times afterwards, and I'm like, oh, okay, you only have your production for it because everything else is just kind of whatever. So my number 5 is Block and Key by Inside Up Games. So Block and Key, like I was saying, is a puzzle kind of game where you're turning 3D elements into 2D. So that's a perfect example.
Well, that's interesting.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You see this on the table, or you see the Gen Con, and you're immediately drawn to it, like trying to figure out what it's about. All of those polyomino pieces are like stone, so they actually have weight to it. And essentially what you're doing is you're placing those onto a spot. Obviously, there's rules for placement, but you're placing it onto a spot where how you're facing is how you complete those objectives. So like a good example is that third card with like the 2 gray, 2 white, and the 1 green.
This one?
Yes, that one. Yeah. Whenever if that's one of your objectives to meet, you have to be able to see that from your perspective in that pattern.
That's gonna be
so it's like, and they're not like all that hard. Like, and basically what happens is people are placing these to where it only benefits them. And there are very few instances where if someone does something, it actually obscures someone else's viewpoint, because like I said, it's based off where you're sitting. So if you're playing a 4-player game, then it's one person on one side, on each side. So that's their perspective. You can't like rotate. You can't like look around and be like, oh, I see it on this over here. In very few instances do people actually play something where it's like, oh, that messed me up. So you're not really interacting with one another. You're placing those polyomino pieces to quickly meet objectives. It's not hard to be like, oh yeah, okay, I see the 2 gray, 2 white there, and then the one green. So I got this one. And what's also incredibly frustrating about this is like to meet certain objectives, there's no way to actually draw like those cards unless you fulfill them. So if you're just getting hosed on the randomness of the tiles coming out and the cards you have in your hand, you can't do a whole lot. Like you just have to keep taking tiles until colors come out that you need. And so then you just have a bunch of tiles. It's not that refined. The way that they did the rule book was like they tried to make it very simplistic, but it's like, well, I have questions. Oh, you didn't answer them? That's cool because you wanted your leaflet of a rule book.
So
That's annoying.
in this game, is it so? Let's say you were going to complete that third card that you pointed out. Is this a thing where everybody gets up and comes over to your side of the table to make sure you're?
That is a rule. Yeah, absolutely. If you were to play a card, you are theoretically meant to be checked.
I hate these kind of games because I'm not good. I'm not good at like, the thinking ahead, the whole visual aspect.
Yeah.
Like that's why I suck at like tiny towns and stuff. Like,
oh, right.
getting all the
Well, here's the thing.
spatial stuff.
It's not all that complex, like to just get them because you can just okay, I'll put that here. Like again, there are very specific rules on how you place the polyomino pieces, but they're not like very restrictive. It's probably less rules than like Sagrada. Sagrada has like the very hey,
Right.
can't be the same color, can't be the same number adjacent to each other.
Right.
It's like okay, yeah, that obviously makes sense. This one's kind of like it's like they tried to make it simple like that, but still made it confusing by being like, okay, well, if they're actually touching, then they have to be higher. So you have to like have a taller
Sure.
one, but you can be diagonal. It's just this game is kind of a mess. It's not super thinky. Again, this definitely feels like it's one that just looks really cool. I mean, just immediately you were like, oh man, what's that? And I don't know, like, yeah, you are supposed to check, but I'm not fucking getting up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if I'm just gonna trust you and be like, dude, you could be lying to me the whole time. If that gets you to win this fucking puzzle game, cool. Like, and yeah, the scoring was just kind of weird at the end too. Even though like my initial thoughts on it was incorrect, even it being corrected, it's like, okay, like it's whoever got the most objectives pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one
Alright.
just was not super great, and it's at 5 because I could actually see this being on the disappointing list. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of like out of all the puzzle games that came out, this is easily the worst one.
Gotcha.
So it's my
All
number
right.
5, Block and Key.
I will stay away. All right. So my number 5, I'm gonna pull out my best inner Seth, and
Okay.
because you dislike the main mechanic of this game a lot. I know. And it's a dice, it's just dice. Everything in this game is totally luck based on dice.
Okay.
To the point, and there's a little bit of mitigation, but there's not much. And I know how you feel about like stuff like the Bronze Age, Roll Through the Ages, stuff like that, where it's just dice on that stuff. This is a game that looks cool. The art's really neat, sounds really cool when you read the title, and then you sit down and figure out that it's I think that the weight of it is 1.73. So it's a very light game, and that is First Empires.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
This one, it looks neat. Like I bought this game and sold it pretty soon after, but I bought this game like sight unseen, because you look at the front, and then if you look at the back of it, it shows this nice colorful board and all these player boards and stuff, and it looks neat. And then it comes down to pretty much it's just I'll go ahead and flip it. Of course, it doesn't show that. I guess you can see the dice up there. There's dice, and you're gonna roll your dice depending on okay. there's certain number of rounds per certain number of players. It's like most games. There's 5 dice corresponding with, or you're gonna be rolling dice, and you have 5 things on your player board, which that picture doesn't really show. There's 5 different categories on your board, and you're gonna roll these dice, and then whatever you roll is what you can do. So you can upgrade these abilities. So like if you don't roll any moving, then hey, guess what? You can't move your meeples. If you don't roll, if you try to take over a spot on the board, then you have to roll swords. If you don't have swords, oh, guess what? It's there's so much luck to this, and it's such a simple game because it's it. You just roll the dice. Oh, I guess I can't do that. I guess I can do that. And it looked neat. Like I wish there was a better picture on there, but if you get on BG and look at like a table setup of it, it's like you can see like player boards and stuff. It's got inset boards, so like the cubes, your player boards have like the little insets for the cubes and stuff, which is nice and stuff. But it's just so damn simple. You upgrade your stuff, and depending on what you roll is what fires off, and it's just I don't know.
So the designer tends to make those kinds of games. Like his other game, Katara, is extremely simple either. Like or also like it's an area control game where it's like I did a playthrough of it at Gen Con, and I was like,
oh yeah, I know
it. Yeah,
I haven't played it, but I know I've seen it.
And I always feel bad because the designer was the one demoing it, and I'm like playing it, and it was just so apparently obvious that like my friend and I were not into it, and then like they always try to sell it, and I'm like, man, no, I don't want your game, and I'm sorry, but bye.
Well, and also this is a game that lasts like an hour at minimum.
In
my mind, and so it's like it's just the randomness for an hour.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know. Like I said, and you like it says 14 and up to play this game. I'd say like 8.
8.
Because there's not that much complexity to this. It's like you roll the dice. If you roll the symbol that's on your that category, you can do that thing.
Yeah.
And it's like it's super super simple. Not what I pictured when I purchased it and everything. That's my bad. I should have done research. I usually don't buy things without looking at it first anyway, but
I certainly do. But I have to so I can get content for the channel.
Right.
But I guess you should probably just stay away from this publisher.
Yeah, probably.
Because this is their second game, and their first one was Res Arcana.
But I can see where that's a good game. It just doesn't.
Gotcha.
It doesn't fit my style, but I know that's a good game. Like
I see.
Well,
then never mind. All right. Well, good deal. Yeah. Normally I don't.
Designer Res Arcana had a better designer.
That's true.
Oh,
yeah.
No offense to this guy. I don't know.
He was nice. He was a nice guy.
Was it Tom Lehman? Is that who did the?
Tom Lehman did Res Arcana, yeah. Which I think he's Race for the Galaxy.
Yeah, he's done a lot of.
Yeah.
Big stuff.
And normally I don't mind pre-rolling. Like randomness is very frustrating for me whenever it's like I get to do something, but dice determine if I succeed or not.
Right.
That's very frustrating, especially it's fine in a cooperative game because everyone ride or dies based off the dice together. In a competitive game, it's like there's just a competition aspect. So it's like, well, you didn't play better than me. The dice just went your way.
Yeah.
But for an hour, that would be annoying.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My number 4, it will be no surprise that it is on this list, and I very much expect this to actually be on your best. This is the only game on here that I can find any contention that would have any fan base. Kind of like with you with our disappointing list, this is a theme that has no interest for me. It's based off an IP. I wouldn't even say it's a famous IP because, I mean, yeah, they've made 5 games, but no one's played those 5 games. They just somehow keep making them.
I've played them all.
Yeah, you've played them all. To be fair, like again, like I actively disliked both sides of this game, and it could also be because I've played a bunch of this genre that it's very hard for anything to just kind of new to come in and top it. So my number 4 is Sniper Elite, the board game.
Boo.
The boo. Yes, you're right. Boo this game for existing, and the video games. They're so fucking clunky. Like, you're the slowest overweight fucking sniper in the world. Anyway, so Sniper Elite is a hidden movement style game. Obviously, one person plays a sniper, and another, not another, but the other players play the guards, or whatever.
The Germans.
Plays the Germans. And here the worst part is I don't think, like, I don't necessarily think that this game is unbalanced. I just didn't enjoy a single side. Like, I felt like as the sniper, it was very frustrating because through just sheer dumb fucking luck, you just happen to move your people, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm here now. Like, there's like no rhyme or reason why anyone would do anything. Just the fact that it can happen was just very annoying. Because the sniper has a time limit, like on how he has to get to objective, and that kind of is what resets the time. So we were actually able to come up with instances where you can puppy guard, and if you don't have ways to actually get cards to help you get rid of the people on the objective spots, then you're just kind of hosed. Yeah, you would have to run to a spot. Huh?
You shoot them.
Well, that's random too. But yeah, it's like, yeah, you would shoot them, but then if you get to an objective, then it resets the timer, and you kind of have to, then you restart from getting to location. But the objectives that you're getting are usually pretty far from one another. That, like, just the experience that I had from being the Germans and the sniper were just so unfun because they just didn't have a bunch to their arsenal. And it was like, it's unfortunately just it competes against the ones that I do like that are in my collection.
Right.
Like Letters from My Chapel, Fury of Dracula, Hunt for the Ring, and even Anomaly. Like those 4, it's like, well, they cover a wide range of hidden movement, one versus many games that this game just naturally can't compete with.
Yeah. You know, we played, and how I told you when I'm the sniper, I like to not even take a shot and sneak around. I was playing with the guys in Joplin. We played a 4-player game of this, and I was the sniper, and I killed 7 people. And and the thing with that is when you kill people, you gain one of those extra hit chips or extra success chips in your bag. So like I finally was like, I'm just gonna start shooting people and running and hiding. I had so many success chips in my bag, I could shoot people across the damn map, and I wasn't failing. You know, it was awesome.
Yeah.
But I had to be strategic and hiding because they had me cornered and everything. But yeah, I killed 7 people on that deal, and I became a badass sniper by the time that was over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even think about that. Like so I was talking about the sniper. I mean, it's called Sniper Elite. The main guy is the sniper, therefore the sniper is going to be powerful. And the Germans, I mean, especially in the video game, the Germans are fucking dumb. The AI is just trash. They're like, I think I saw someone rigging something to the car. Better get in it.
They're smarter in 5 a little bit, not much, but they're better in 5 at least.
Yeah, and I felt that the abilities of the Germans were not good. Or if they were good, they were very limited. So it's like the Germans, like their benefit is supposed to be that there's numbers to them. Like there's obviously, 9 Germans to the 1 sniper, but they don't really have any abilities. They have like theirs, like the red and yellow. They can use their special ability twice in the whole game, and it's like, okay, well, if those are gone, then I guess those are gone. And I hope we can figure out where you're at, and because it's kind of like Letters from My Chapel where we have to arrest you. I don't know. This one just did not click for me on either side. And the things that it did do well, it's done better in other games. So I just have no interest, and I hate that fucking board, man. That's like that dry erase, very obvious to tell where someone's writing,
I
like
keep rotating the
unless they're
board.
rotating it, or
Yep,
you're
I
like
do that every
ducking
time.
under the table. Yeah,
Yep.
it's like, oh,
Every
hold on,
turn I rotated.
let me move. Hold on. Okay, your turn.
It
It's
brings in
like
this whole deal. Yeah, go ahead. You
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say, just give me a screen. Like, just give me a
Yeah.
fucking screen
I think that
with the map.
I always liked it because I'd have that board and I kept rotating it, but then
Yeah.
I would like nonchalantly like look at the top left of the board, like on the
Yeah.
player board, even though I was in the bottom right, and be like, okay. And I'd be like play it like I'd be that dumb to do that. But
Yeah.
but
This has a solo mode, doesn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it plays pretty well. Yeah.
I mean, I imagine it would. Like, that makes the most sense that this game would have a decent solo mode because it's a solo video game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's there definitely is better German the commander abilities than others. If you know you're playing somebody that's aggressive, like I did that one game where I killed the 7 people, if you pick a sniper, then they pull out of that bag. So they get to do it twice, but they can actually, if you have a ton of hits in your bag, then they can take advantage of that too because they use the same bag to fire
to draw
across too.
from.
So I mean that's a thing. If you know you're playing somebody aggressive, do that. You know, there's ways.
Right. Well, I mean, like, here's the thing though. It's like I definitely see where you're coming from, and that sounds really cool and strategic. Except if someone sees that you have a sniper, they're not going to be aggressive. You know, why would I mean? They could. They could just,
Sometimes that's why I killed so many, is because they had me cornered, and I had to just start killing them and run. So if they get lucky and get you cornered.
But I don't know. This is also an IP. I actively dislike these video games. I think they're horrendous. I even tried 5, and I played a little bit more into 5, and I'm like, what is this? Like, what is this game? So yeah, just something that was definitely not for me, and that's why it's my number 4.
All right. Well, my number 4 is a game that I really wanted to like. I actually didn't pre-order it. Somebody else did. We talked about this company and the disappointing games list a little bit. And this one's just not cool. It makes me wonder. Of course, Blacklist is out now, but is not really a thing. But this one I had a lot of hype on and ended up falling flat on, and that's Contra.
Whoa, okay. I mean, I didn't even know this was out.
Yeah, it's out. Some people have. I mean, a friend of mine had. I don't know where he picked it up at, but
he bootlegged it somewhere.
He pre-ordered it, so I don't know.
Yes, I thought I did too. Well, great. It sucks, huh?
But this is one of those, again, by the Sadler brothers. There's a lot of hype with this one. I really was, because I loved the old Contra game from back when I was younger. This uses that MDS system again, but it's just kind of a, I don't know. The MDS system to me peaked at Street Masters, the very first game, and then it's just kind of hasn't been as good. Again, like I haven't really given Ultra Quest as big of a chance, and Brook City's good. Street Masters just is the perfect fit for this system. This one's just, I mean, you're picking you have your boss. You're going to pick your commando decks, your boss decks. You have to pick your whatever stage map you're going to use, and then it's kind of a game. You're just kind of running through, killing shit. You know, it's fully cooperative. I play with 2 players. It could easily play with solo. But it's just, I don't know, man. It just wasn't. It didn't capture the feel of Contra. I didn't think.
I see.
Now, mind you, Contra is a side scroller. You know, so
what's it look like? I want to.
Oh, sorry.
I want to see the art.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
Again, you know, we said this with Hour of Need. to be perfectly honest with you, it doesn't need a board. It doesn't need miniatures. You could just have a card layout of the stage. That would almost make more sense to me if you laid out cards in a side scroll manner.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be like.
You know, that one would have been so much better. The dice make it super random. It just, I don't know. They used the IP again, a cool IP, but it just this system didn't mesh with the IP the way I felt it should.
Okay.
To the point that I just don't care about it. Like, just it was a completely fell flat to me. So
yeah, so apparently I didn't pre-order this because I'm not seeing it in my orders.
Because he had it for
I thought I did
for a while, so I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I added it as maybe an add-on with their Street Masters Indiegogo.
Oh yeah,
thing, but which who knows if that's ever coming out.
I think we're supposed to be getting it before long. I think.
But hopefully, but yeah, that's a company I'm definitely going to steer clear from in the future. Well, a good thing I didn't pre-order it because yeah, actually just seeing the board is kind of frustrating because yeah, it is a side scroller, bombastic, bullet hell kind of game. And I mean, I'm not the biggest Contra fan. I've played one of them, couldn't even tell you which one, and I can sure as shit tell you I did not beat it.
Yeah.
Because it is very hard. But again, yeah, Blacklist and the MDS system, I was like, man, I'll just play whatever they make. It's because you think it adds so much variety, and it does, but the game behind it has to be good. That's why Street Masters works so well.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this could have been I don't even know how much the pre-order for this game was to get this.
I think it was.
Stuff,
I just looked at it,
but it's like they could have cut costs and just had a card deck layout, and then just you move standee from card to card as you killed stuff or whatever, and just that way. It would have been so much.
It was 50.
Well, that's not bad, I guess, with miniatures and crap, but there's not a ton of miniatures either. I mean,
right? It looks like.
I think you had your
cards.
I think you had your guys.
I like the box cover.
Base. Yeah. I mean, the stuff that makes it look like the old Nintendo cartridge is pretty cool and stuff. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It just didn't even come close to what I was picturing.
Okay.
I didn't pre-order it, obviously, so I'm glad I didn't either.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, Contra, the board game.
All right. Okay, so my number 3, woof, this fucking game, man. My number 3 would have been, and actually has been shown to be a good game to a lot of people, 15 years ago. I should actually find out when. And normally, I don't do second editions. But sorry, this was 9 years ago when the first edition came out. The Kickstarter was ran into a lot of issues prior to that for the second edition, and I was amazed that they delivered. So good on them for that. But wow, this is definitely a 9-year-old game, and my number 3 is.
Oh yeah,
Carnival Zombie second edition. Oh my God. This game is a mess. Like it did nothing revolutionary on second edition. I don't even really know why that they even made a second edition, except I guess for the fans of the first edition, maybe giving it a graphical update. And there's something to be said about like a unique theme, but when you go so far into the uniqueness that you kind of actually, at least for me, like it completely lost all theme. So it's like you're in a carnival I think in Venice. So it has like this masquerade kind of overall feel, Renaissance kind of feel. And yeah, it's like a party that you were at or something in the sinking city. And yeah, there's just this horde of zombies that are now attacking you. This game is so ridiculously long that after almost every single time, it's like after a few rounds, it's like I don't want to keep doing this. It's a tower defense game with like a day-night cycle, to where, yeah, like that's the game right there. So you have your minis in those 4 quadrants, and the cubes are your zombies.
So
So
can I interrupt for a second? You know what
yeah,
this
go for it.
reminds me of? A more convoluted Castle Panic.
Yeah. I mean, no, exactly. Or what's another tower defense game that I'm drawing a blank on? Maybe it's not. I guess I was thinking Stronghold because of the cubes, like how they have the
Right. But the quadrants of Castle Panic, how they come
yeah,
down and all that
yeah.
crap.
Well, they don't really. I don't even remember what they call them. Like they call them like pits or something.
Yeah.
It's like fucking. It's so stupid. Uh, it's not like quadrants and sections. Where it's like, okay, hey, this area is the quadrant, and then the 3 things in that quadrant are sections. It's like they call them pits or caves or whatever. It's so stupid. Anyway, yeah. So the zombies are cubes. Uh, of the same type. I mean, the green is like your generic whatever zombie, and then you have like the blue ones are the dogs, and the white ones are the special zombies that come out. Theme is just right out the window when it comes to that. It's so hard to get invested when all you're doing is removing cubes. And they just threw everything they could into this game to just like, what can we add to make this game another 30 minutes?
Right.
Because like whenever you kill zombies, you have to take them and you have to pick them up and you have to move them and you have to drop them onto a tiny cardboard slot as like the corpse pile. And if any fall off, so now you have a little dexterity element. If any fall off, you have to then re-add them to the bag. So you're meant to survive a certain amount of nights, utilizing, I mean, your character's weapons, to kill a certain number. And then, not only that, after you survive a certain amount, you have to then decide in what order you want to leave, because in the direction that you leave on the quadrants, north, south, east, or west, is what direction you move on that map up at the top left. Because
Right.
you're trying to get to various locations to meet objectives. It's supposed to be scenario based, similar to like Robinson Crusoe-esque, like they're their own sheets of like, hey, here's what you got to do to escape through the bridge, or escape through, getting the holy hand grenade, or escape through an aircraft, stuff like that. It's technically campaign based, or at least what they call campaign based, of just of surviving a certain amount of days and then going and escaping throughout the city. But it's like, I just want to play a scenario. But then the scenarios are just so weird to try and set up that you're missing half the game. This was a slog, because it's like a day, like it's just the day night cycle. It's just so convoluted, and the actual game is fucking tedious, where it's like nothing changes from day to day, except
Yeah.
like you might be like, oh well, now we have a canister of gas that we can use now it's oh my god.
I
It's
know Tom
I
Vassell used to love this thing, the first
well,
edition.
yeah, I'm sure this game was amazing in 2013. And that's where it should have stayed. Like whoever, like the second edition, I like clearly did a graphical overhaul, and the insert was done well. And I'll applaud them for doing what they were meant to do by delivering this to backers, even though they went through publisher or designer hell. But it should have stayed in 2013. This one it cannot stack up to games now.
Right.
Like it just makes sense. Like, so I don't fault them necessarily, but you want to talk about mind numbing. It's like, man, can a zombie apocalypse actually happen so I can get out of playing this game? Yeah, it was a mess. Like I did not enjoy my time with it, not even a little. Like I couldn't even get into the castle, or in like the castle panic or the tower defense style of just mowing down zombies, because it doesn't feel like that. It's not like it feels like Project Elite, where you're just feeling like a badass running around and mowing down a bunch of enemies. This is, all right, I attacked, I killed 2 zombies. All right, all the rest move up. Your
Interesting.
turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it felt slow like a zombie.
Mhm.
So that's pretty cool. Maybe that was part of their design process.
Maybe.
But yeah, I actively dislike this one quite a bit. So that's my number 3, Carnival
All
Zombie
right.
second edition.
Well, my number 3 is a rehash of a series of games. This is just a re-theme, I guess. These games that it is part of is pretty popular. They actually are sold at like Target and Walmart and stuff as well. And I've played the original ones and they fit fine. I don't mind them. They're not my favorite in the world, but I'm a shill for anything that's Star Wars. Like if it's Star Wars, I will buy it for the most part. I mean, just and then I was like, this game, the gameplay of the system is fine. I'm gonna get this one because it's Star Wars and it looks badass. And that is
okay. That is not what I thought this was gonna be.
No, and okay, so Villainous using the Disney theme with the villains and stuff is fine. You know, it has its stuff, and it works better in those for some reason. But you're crossing too many threads when you jump into the Star Wars universe because the characters that you get to choose from are Vader, obviously, Kylo Ren, and Moff Gideon, and General Grievous, and then Asajj Ventress, and it's like
who?
She's like one of the second sister, like
okay.
But dark sister. But so these it just doesn't make sense with this. Like, you know, you can kind of see there's a possibility of a crossover in the animated world with Disney stuff, or you know, they just kind of make. But these, it just doesn't make sense why they would go against each other for some reason. But it's like this, the gameplay. Have you ever played any of the Villainous games?
Nope.
Okay, because pretty much what it is you get your own deck, you have your own board, and you're trying to, you're just trying to fulfill your storyline and all that stuff, and you're drawing cards from decks and everything to try to do stuff. Well, there's a certain number of spots on your board that you need to get filled to complete your deal, your villain storyline. But there's all these different abilities, like you can draw. One of the things you can do is actually draw 2 cards from another character's fate deck and play one on their board, so it can mess them up and all this different stuff. And it's like, that doesn't really show a player board, but anyway, it's like it just, I don't know, it doesn't work with Star Wars.
You know, like lightsabers.
They've thrown these little this theme on this game, and this one doesn't work. Like the other ones have some pretty neat characters. The Disney ones are kind of like, I'm trying to think of a word. They kind of are statuesque versions of the Disney villains. These are the same way too, but these are just horrible. You know, it's like, it doesn't make sense.
I can't even tell what some of those are.
I know, and that's the thing. Like the Disney ones, you can do pretty well, and some of this stuff isn't even part of the game. Like these look like they're metal, and there aren't metal in there. So I think those are something that people have, and I don't think these are in there either. I think people have those, but anyway, this is just one of those. Like Villainous was just a fine game. Anyway, and then when you threw Star Wars on, this theme does not work on the Villainous deal. You know, like Star Wars is one of those things you can't put on everything. You know, like even though they try, but it will not work on certain things.
Isn't there a Star Wars like Rising or something as well?
I have that, yes, and that one's actually not bad.
Well, they have Star Wars Talisman.
It never, well, and see, neither one of those got released in the United States because of purposes. So I got the Dark Side Rising online, you know, just because it was only released over like in Germany or something like that. But so I have it, and that's why I was saying I buy pretty much everything. I would have bought the Star Wars Talisman too if I could find it at a decent price, but I bought this one, and it's like, nope. Like, not gonna happen. This doesn't make sense. It's stupid. You know, why would Vader and Kylo Ren be fighting against each other? You know, and
they're all on the dark side.
They're
also related.
Like grandfather and grandson. You know? It's like, so anyway.
The Villainous theme was something that I was like, well, I'm not a Disney adult, so I think I'll move on.
Right.
And then I don't really care about Star Wars. So yeah, this was definitely a hard pass for me.
Yep.
What should have been a hard pass was my number 2, and this one was so close to being my number 1. But it's not as bad of an overall game as my number 1. But man, does it just look like shit. And it makes me mad. And I have a story for this. So my number 1, I'm not even gonna segue into this. My number 1 is a
Your number
massive
two?
game.
Your number
My
2?
number 2, my number 2, you know what? I don't want to talk about my number 2. I hate it that much. My number 2 is a massive game called Titan. Not this one. Wait, is it this one? No, this is it. Okay, good.
Isn't this the one that has the big plastic?
Yeah,
like,
the Hasbro
something?
piece of shit, ugly
Yeah.
motherfucking table
This
hog.
thing.
Yeah. Yes, that thing is so horrendously ugly and overproduced. Like normally I don't care if a game's overproduced, like Santorini or something like that. It's like great. Like it looks awesome. This thing is so cheaply made that it actively hurt me to put it to take it apart. Like because like those are 4 wedges that you like wedge together, and so because they didn't like file them correctly, they don't quite slide in, so you have to like push them together so the cardboard can be flush. To pull them apart, like you have to like a friend of mine, when we did the review for this, I can't remember what he gave it, like maybe a 7. I was like, okay, you can disassemble it. And then he's actively like pulling on it, and he's like, well, I don't want to break it. And I'm like, I don't care. And then he got it out, and he's like, yep, nope, this drops my score. No, it cut me. Like trying to actually pull it apart physically cut me because it was just that poorly made. On top of that, the gameplay is whatever. It is at its core a pick up and deliver game. That's it. Like you are trying to get various types of insert name here of resources. So you're trying to pick those up with your robots, deliver them back to your base to then spend on arbitrary objectives. Oh, this objective wants 2 red. Well, red's actually bad. It wants 2 gold, 2 black, and 1 blue. Okay, I'll mine and place those types of piping down, or not the piping, the little buildings. Those are like the color coded buildings of what they produce. And I got those, and now I get 5 points. And then there's other just objectives that if you're the first one to complete, you get like 7 points. Well, like the weird thing is like if you're the first one there, you only get like a few more points than second and third place. So it's like it wasn't like that big of a. It's not like it was like, oh, first one gets 15, second one gets 7, or whatever.
Right.
Where it's like, let's rush for that. And this game is also just so fucking weirdly cutthroat, like because you have little robots that you, as an action, you can like spend certain types of material to move them, and you can have the robots pick up the bad red cubes and drop them off into someone else's. So because like the pipes, there's a phase where you will bring in those clear cubes, and those are worth victory points. But if there are the red cubes in those spots, you have to pull those first. And so you can just weirdly use your robots to go and destroy people's pipes, which cuts off their connection to various things, or drop the red cubes off. And that's all they do. I mean, yeah, you can have them pick up the silver cubes or the clear cubes to bring to you, so you can get those as victory points. And then just going back to the production, that stack of those plastic things were the 3, 3, 5, 3, and 5. They're supposed to say that they're stackable, but they're not. There's no grooves to insert them into one another, so they constantly slide and fall over. It's a mess of a game. Like, and you're actively supposed to see the other player's boards, like, but because that thing is so massive in the center of the table that you can't. This is my number 2. Like, because the gameplay is a whatever, pick up and deliver. Like, sure, it functions mechanically as a game. It's fine at best, but the production of this was so infuriating. There's zero insert in the box, and they gave you these trash bag sized so like it's like, what the fuck do I do with this? Like they're massive bags. It was awful. And then they tried to add in expansions.
Yeah. I think this is a game that was there was another game called Titan that had this same big round thing, and but it looked like, I think it had like a different theme, almost like it had like a guy with a sword on the front or something like that, because it came out a while back. So I remember that. And
well, let's see. So Titan came out this year. There was Titans.
But there was one, did it have a big, because there was another game that was called Titan or Titans that had this big huge thing in the middle.
I think I know. Well,
of the table.
I think this is it, man. Maybe they changed it, because I mean,
or this is
well, there's a game called Titan that came out in 1980.
Did it have a big thing like this though? Because it was an old game. It's an old game. The one
there's a weird board in the middle based off what I'm looking, but
yeah,
I think that would be. It has nothing to do with
when I was younger that had a thing like this. It was called Titan or something like that.
Maybe that's it. Travel the land, amass your forces, and fight for supremacy in this fantasy classic.
Like, maybe they just borrowed this circle thing. Like,
yeah, it's not showing up on anything like the pictures, anything like this.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah, this one, the fact that it actively like cut me when trying to take it apart, and the storage was awful, the production's awful, the gameplay is whatever, and it's still a mindless pick up and deliver game with weird ass cutthroat mechanisms. No, absolutely not. I couldn't give this away quick enough. So that's my number 2. Like I said, this was in contention for my number 1, but my number 1 is something else.
Yeah, I can say the same thing about my number 2. My number 2 is one that I battled between this and the other one. Ultimately, the stupid theme of my number 1 won out, but this one was one that I refused to buy myself. I tried to talk one of my friends into buying it because it's expensive for what it is. It's a game that goes for like $90 to $100, and it's a simplistic game about building your realm, and that is Dice Realms.
Oh, interesting.
This is one of those games that
Tom Lehman.
Right, but this game, check this out. There's 18 dice in this. This is the game. It's pretty much the change the face of your die of the game, right?
Okay.
So there's 600. I looked it up as you were talking about that other one. There's 668 dice faces.
Okay.
In the tray. And this isn't all of them, because what happens is at the very beginning of the game, during setup, you're going to draw 5 tiles, and that's going to tell you what faces you're going to put out there.
Okay.
668 faces that you've got to get put out there, and pretty much the game comes down to you're changing the again, this fits in that whole same thing as like the roll through the ages. You're going to have food, you're going to have coins, you're going to have defense, you're going to have upgrades, all that crap. You have these cards like at the bottom that are things that you can acquire and use. But what happens is that everybody pretty much plays simultaneously. Everybody rolls their dice all at the same time, but then one player will roll a fate dice. And that fate die applies to everybody. All right. So you have all that randomness that comes out with that. Like if on the fate die, like if winter shows up, you have to be able to pay a grain for each of their die. So you don't know from time to time on that fate dice if it's gonna be winter, and you're gonna have to be ready to pay food and all this crap. There's all these different things. You're collecting victory points. And what's weird about this is when during any round, because like you're gaining all these victory point tokens. So during any round, if you need to use if you have to use a 10 victory point token, if you have to use a -10 misery token or a 10 grain token, then the game ends after finishing that round. So it's like
All right.
the game takes for flipping ever, and then you're trying to pop out all these damn deals, putting this game up and getting it out on the table with all these stupid dice faces everywhere. Just a
Yeah.
nightmare. Like there was that one game, Dice Forge, that we
Yeah.
played, and that was annoying enough changing the faces on that die. But
Hmm.
that's what this game is. You're constantly changing the faces of these die. It's not in. It's
Yeah.
not even an op. Like you're constantly changing, and and for a $90 to $100 game, it's stupid.
Yeah. It's like the
Like,
expansion to Roll for the Galaxy. It did the same thing with dice. And it's like, oh God. And for some reason they feel that's a reason to jack up the price.
well, and I guess it would be the same designer, wouldn't it? So maybe he just decided to.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
guess he decided to bring it over into the civilization realm. I guess.
Yeah, Roll for the Galaxy. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. He took leftover pieces from that expansion
And I think the thing that
and then put
pisses
them
me
in
off the
this.
most is that fate die. Because like you can't prep
Yeah.
for it. You know, like
Yeah.
if they had um like it went through the seasons and
Yeah.
you knew what to prep for, but
Hmm.
like you could be building for something all of a sudden, oh shit, it's winter. I guess you have to take food for
Yeah,
or
wait
it's
a
like
minute. It was just
so it's
spring.
I know, so it's like it just was dumb and it's I wouldn't even buy this game for $40.
Yeah.
That's like it's
Yeah.
just a kind of
Well,
a mess.
yeah,
And it
that's
doesn't
extremely
look very good.
frustrating.
Like the die faces are kind of,
They're
and
whatever.
the
They're
chits are kind of boring looking. It's just kind of like I don't know.
yeah,
It's I haven't really been hearing a lot of people talk about this other than complaining about the price. So
right. I remember when it first came out. I remember seeing some people kind of talk about it, but that was
because the
like,
box cover looks badass. Like the box cover is
eh,
what wanted me to get it because it was like,
eh.
okay, this could be a cool Civ building game. It looks like you might be doing a little bit of, but then I saw the price and then I look and
Hmm.
it's just my friend was a
Yeah.
sucker for letting me talk him into buying it. That's all I have to
You're like,
say.
ha ha ha. You're a great friend.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, man, I'll totally play with you all the time. All right. And finally, the number one worst game of 2022. Like I said, could have been Titan because it actually made me bleed. Um, but maybe Titan was trying to save me from playing this game. It was really trying to just end my life. And I'm probably talking up a little bit more than I need to, but this game is such a fucking mess of just overall systems that my number one is a game called Reload.
Huh.
Fight for Fame. So let me give you a quick genre that you think will never work in a board game. Do you think Battle Royale is something that sounds super fun?
You like Fortnite
Uh,
type stuff?
yeah, yeah. Fortnite, Apex,
No.
Warzone, and then
Nope.
throw your hand in for a bunch of others because that was kind of like that's just what everyone designed. And whenever it's like, oh, let's make a board game out of that, it's like, well, that's not gonna work. And it's by Colossal Games, and they already don't make the best stuff anyway. At least for me. I'm not even gonna talk about the designers. I don't know who they are. Uh, this game is an absolute clusterfuck of mechanisms. It's just the most. It's like it's like the most basic of gameplay combined with the most convoluted rules that you would ever attempt to try and put together. On top of just them trying to implement some type of reward system for defeating someone to then have them be brought back. And they even had a rule for how you drop in. You know how in like
Yeah.
Apex or Warzone, the parachute. I've never played Fortnite, so I don't know the drop in for that.
It's like a
Uh,
bus on balloons, and you jump out of the bus.
okay. Yeah, so all of them have the zones. You can stay in the bus longer to go to a specific zone, yada yada yada. This is kind of similar where it's like the first person like has to like they have to choose an area that they want to land and then they roll a die and those triangles around the edges um dictate like the wind so you may or may not land where you meant to. So that's already just kind of dumb. Each of those tiles have like a symbol on them that is not easy to find at all on the rules, but they mean something. um they have different tiers of like weapons, obviously, that you can get that you just kind of randomly can come across, but you can only hold so much. It's like, and then also how you win. It's not even based off points or anything. It's like certain objectives. So like you can go to that location with that yellow parachute symbol, and that's an item, and you can go pick that up, and you take that and you put it on a track. And there are certain goals that you can meet that have longer tracks. If you kill someone, you get a bigger, longer track. And then it eventually adds up to where there's like a fame thresh point. So whoever breaks that thresh point wins. I wish it was on here because it probably makes a little bit more sense to visually see it. But essentially, different colored tokens pushed together to make you to. So it's like, hey, now I'm famous and I won.
Gotcha.
The combat is just is awful. It's also all dice based. Like everything you do, you're rolling dice, so you're placing dice on actions to be able to move, to be able to attack, and eventually run out of dice. And then if you get wounded, it's this whole other ordeal. The worst part of this game, besides its theme, is just the fact that nothing is clear. Like this rule book was horrendous. Like it's like, well, so what happens if I throw this grenade? Can I react? It's like, no, I don't know. I can't find it in the rule book. What happens if I get to the middle? Can I shoot you from over there? It's like, I don't know. Like it's not clear. And there's also no reason to actually really attack one another because they don't have like the way that toxic gas works. It's not like it's immediate. It's only if you end your turn in that spot. So it's not like the board shrinks. Like if they made this board like way bigger, for you to run around and survive and get some items, and then eventually you meet up to try and replicate that battle royale feel. It's like, yeah, okay, if you want to dive into the middle and get the really good loot, like right in the middle where everyone's gonna drop, but you might have to fight. That'd be something. And then if you go to the edge, then it's like, oh, here's all the weaker stuff. But they have no way of actually shrinking the board down to where there's different zones to where you eventually have to fight one another, because you can just win by going and picking up items, like because you just still get the track. It's awful. This game is so bad. It's cheap. The production I think is actually really poor. Those minis look like they're made out of clay. So many weird convoluted tokens that you're just kind of like, I don't want to mess with these. Yeah. This was a mess of a game. I'm pretty sure, I don't even know what people rank this. It's probably high. People think everything that comes out is a masterpiece now. Yeah, whatever. What fucking ever. 7.5 bullshit. Those 193 ratings are paid. They're the 193 employees of Colossal Games. And even then they didn't like it because otherwise it'd be a 10. Yeah. Again, like this year, like I really don't have any like visceral reactions where I'm like, I hate this game. But overall, this was my least favorite game to play and to experience in 2022.
All right. Well, my number one is the dumbest game I've played, and it's the stupidest theme.
Okay.
And it is, when I explain how the game plays, it's going to make sense when I say it is literally shit.
Okay.
That is, so you've been.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about like that poo game that the Dice Tower was talking about, like
No.
and their worst covers list.
I wanted to play this quite a bit because of Scott Alms, because he does good with those solo stuff. He did the Warp's Edge, stuff like that, and everything. So I was like, I'll give this a shot. Pretty much. Okay, so this is going to tell you everything you need to know first. It says that this game is good for 0 to 2 players. All right, so I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
But pretty much what you're doing is you're playing a miner, and there is a beast.
Okay.
Your goal as the miner is to collect the crystals that only grow within inside this beast.
All right.
So your goal to win the game is to get, I want to say it's 8 crystals, I think. If you can get these 8 crystals before being digested, then you win. The beast wins if you get digested. There's this whole bacteria mechanic that if they get certain consecutive types of bacteria, then you're digested. If neither one of you do it and you pass completely through his tract and you get shit out, then it's whoever has the most victory points at the end. So, well, I'm going to show you a picture here because there's your board.
All right.
So
not looking super impressive.
Nope. It actually gives me a little bit of a feel. I know it doesn't look identical, but just it kind of reminds me of that one stupid game that we played that was like the Diablo.
Oh, Sanctum.
Yeah, kind of like that. But anyway, so when I say it can be played 0 to 2 players, you can play it 2 players with one person controlling the beast and one person controlling the miner. You can play it solo with the miner playing against a sleeping beast. Okay. You can play it as a game of 1 where you're the beast and you're against a robot miner. Or you can play it with 0 players with a sleeping beast against a robot miner. Why you would even... I don't even know why that's an option. You're technically... I mean, does the game play itself? I mean, do you just sit there and the pieces move and cards play and everything? It's like... I don't know, but
it's where they send you a QR code for an app and it's a video.
Let's watch this video.
Yeah. Oh, you played it.
I don't know, but it's they tried, because
well, yeah, all of these games they try.
Well, right, but I mean, because they went far enough into when you're the miner and you're going into the beast, you find equipment from other people that have been digested. So you can pick up different equipment as you're going through. Mm-hmm. There's these different bacteria that pop up, which are these little doodads. And you've got dice rolling, and you're doing your set collection and all. It's just junk. I don't even know, and I should have known because the theme sounded dumb anyway. But I was like, I did it because of the designer.
But Scott Alms as a designer, I stay away from. He's had very few games that have worked for me. Mainly the Almanac games, I think, are his best design. But he does the tiny solos. Epics.
His solo stuff's why I like him. And
gotcha.
Because I think he might have been the one that did the Recklin run too.
Okay, and I think he does the tiny epic series. Right, is that him? And another game that his biggest one, the Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, I want to try again with more players because I played that at 3 and it wasn't super great.
Yeah, I played that one at 5 and it was fun, but it was just
okay. That seems like bigger, bigger, bombastic, more war game.
Yeah. So anyway,
that's hilarious.
I just don't even know why there's a game for 0 players. I don't know if that's just something funny that they wanted to put on.
Well,
there.
On Board Game Geek it says 1 to 2. So
I'm on Board Game Geek. Well, yeah, but if you look at the description, it says note: this is a game for 0 to 2 players.
Oh,
the
okay.
BGG database does not allow a player count of 0.
Oh.
So it's I don't know. It's a.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. You know what? I'm curious. I almost want to do a run through for this game at 0 player. Just I'm not even there
because I don't own it, but my friend does, so I could see if I can get it. But here's the funny thing. I'm going to read a little thing right here. It says finally it could transpire that you do not collect the necessary crystals by the time you reach the end of the beast's digestive tract. In this case, the so-called ending number 2 will happen when you exit the beast from the other end of the one you entered. So the ending number 2, get it? Ending,
I did get it.
Yeah. So it's something.
Wow. I'm intrigued. I almost want to get this and do a 0 player run through where it's how it's the static cam and stuff where it's us playing. No one's there. It's the board. But I wonder if I can do it in a way where I can do stop motion. So it's I do, and so I have all the pieces. But man, put in all this effort to give this game a fucking 3 out of 10 or something.
What does that get rated? I haven't looked.
It's actually 6.9. Something that Reload should have been around.
And I'll say that the play time is accurate. The 30 minutes is because it's not a very long game.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not very many spots down that track,
Right.
Yeah. But
I don't know. I did see this game. I like the cover.
Yeah, it looks neat, and I mean, I gave it a shot, but
That's hilarious.
It's pretty dumb.
Yeah. So anyway, that is our top 5 worst games of 2022. Overall, like I said, this if you made it this far, this was a really good year that we really couldn't find anything. Almost every game we played must have been, pretty solid. I had a lot of games contended for the top 10 best.
Yeah.
And even then, no real visceral reactions, at least from me on my on my top 5. Just like not just slight worse than being on disappointing, because it's like the disappointing list is things we actually had expectations for. These are just bad games. And again, if you love these games, that's fantastic. You are well within your right to love them for one reason or another. But I believe it is also part of my job to showcase what I believe to be bad games, just in case people want to save some money. And it's also fun to just harp on shit instead of always praise it. That's come on. We gotta be a little jaded, right?
Right, exactly.
Anyway, that's it, everyone. Let us know what games were the worst for you in 2022. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.